Just recently, Speedrun Update Channel, The Weekly Thing, released their video about why they think Bedrock Edition is better for speedrunning than Java Edition. They brought about some key details from both and came to the decision that Bedrock was much better than speedrunning for Java, but this just isn't true. The Weekly Thing is one of my favorite speedrun update channels and is highly respected, and I don't mean to bring them any harm or any backlash for this video, but they didn't really look into the technical and little things about the game, despite what they said. They only looked into the major aspects, but they didn't really take into account everything. I am a dedicated Bedrock speedrunner. I speedrun SSG for 4 hours a day on some days, but I also know Java better than most, seeing as I have many channel points for Curryway. I know both of the platforms better than most do, and I think I can provide a much better and more depth opinion on what is truly better, Bedrock and Java, and why, despite spending my entire life speedrunning Bedrock Edition, why I think Java is actually superior for Minecraft speedrunning. Let's get into the video. Quick disclaimer before this video begins, I absolutely love The Weekly Thing. It's a great speedrun update channel. Please go subscribe to it, link in the description. I'm just disagreeing with one of their claims, and I'll be using a lot of their footage in the video. The main thing I'm going to be disagreeing with from The Weekly Thing's video was their scoring system. They have a few different categories, and they're very general, and whichever Bedrock or Java was better at the certain category, they'd get one single point, and Bedrock ended up having more single points than Java. The main problem I have with this, and that it being flawed, is bridging, Bedrock winning bridging, is worth the same amount of points as E-Rang, which is just absolutely stupid. Bridging on Java and Bedrock goes about the same speed, even though it's easier than Bedrock, while E-Rang can decrease the luck of a run by hundreds and hundreds of times, and it's just incomparable. So with the help of Google Slides, a Curryway stream, and a lot of Cheez-Its, I was able to find the most fair categories and rank them individually on points by what was the most important, and we'll truly see what is better for speedrunning, Bedrock or Java. The first category we have here is performance, and it's kind of obvious that Bedrock is better at performance than Java. Java can use things like Optifine and Sodium to make it a more playable experience, but because Bedrock is available on such platforms, Bedrock is obviously going to get the point for performance. The next thing we have on the list is something called safety biomes, and you've probably never heard of it, but if you've played on Bedrock, maybe you've noticed it, maybe you haven't, but when you play in Bedrock Edition, you're usually going to spawn in a plains or a forest of some sort. This is because of a little code called safety biomes. Bedrock, more times than not, is going to try to spawn you in a safe biome, like a plains or a forest, instead of in the middle of a desert or in the middle of an island. This makes ocean strats much harder because it's rare to spawn next to oceans, and it makes villages a lot more easy to get because plains villages are very common in Bedrock Edition. Because Java is so much less strict on where you can spawn, it allows for a wide variety of new strategies to be incorporated and used in new runs, making new strategies and faster strategies like ocean strats much easier to use. Java gets the point for safety biomes. And now we move on to the second thing on the list, which is spawn holds. If you don't know what a spawn hold is, that's because I like shortening words, and it means there's a stronghold at spawn. It can only happen at Bedrock Edition, but basically strongholds like to spawn under villages, and if you find a village with your coordinates adding up to about 700 or 1100, there's a pretty big chance that if you dig down, you'll find yourself right inside of a stronghold, which is really cool. And remember earlier in the video when I said some things should be worth more than others? This is one of them. The ability to completely skip the luck element of blind traveling at the end of the game is so helpful. The only reason it's not worth more than 3 is because it's really rare for this to actually happen in a speedrun that you also get a good nether in. The next two things on this list are villages and ocean routes. What this basically means is what are the chances that you're going to enter the nether with each of these on either platform. Villages for both Bedrock and Java Edition are very valuable, and although Bedrock villages have a chance to spawn as abandoned, because you're more likely to spawn in friendly biomes, villages are a bit more common to spawn on top of in Bedrock. So the chances of finding a village and getting a lava pool with it are about the same on Bedrock and Java, so that's a tie for that category. For Ocean, however, not only do you have a very rare chance to spawn near an ocean in Bedrock Edition, but on Java Edition, doors can be used as air pockets, making shipwreck and magma ravines super viable for entering the Nether and usually even faster than villages. So Java's going to get the point for ocean routes. By the time we're entering the Nether, Bedrock has 5 points and Java has 3, but don't be misled by this yet because Java, from this point on, is going to be racking up a lot more points than Bedrock.
130 enter with like everything! Yo! Oh! Okay,
The Nether is where Java immediately starts to shine over Bedrock Edition. The first thing you're going to do when you enter the Nether, if you don't already see a fortress and a bastion, is you're going to do a strategy called E-raying. E-ray is a really complicated process, and I'll try my best to explain it as simply as I can, but basically the F3 screen is going to show you how many entities are loaded in your render distance and also your field of view. So if the number spikes at any given time, that means there's probably a bastion that way because bastions spawn preloaded with piglins when other structures like fortresses don't. The pie chart will also show you if there is a mob spawner nearby, so that is useful for finding either a treasure bastion with a magma cube spawner, but mainly a fortress with a blaze spawner. Because at this point in the run, you know exactly where the fortress and bastion are going to be, it becomes so much easier to run any given seed, when on Bedrock Edition, you kind of just have to run in blind and just cross your fingers that you'll run into a fortress and a bastion, which is not ideal in the slightest. So, because so many more seeds are viable, even if it's a bad seed, you know exactly where you're going to go. Because of this, Java is going to get a ludicrous 5 points for the E-ray. Quadrants are a very small and kind of irrelevant category now because of E-ray, but they work pretty simply. Basically, a quadrant is a set of chunks that form a square area, and there's never going to be a bastion and fortress in the same quadrant. So if you're in positive and you find a bastion, the best way to find a fortress is to get out of positive and into a different quadrant. The reason quadrants are part of this list is because Bedrock does not have this feature, and these structures spawn very randomly, so Java is going to get another point for this category. The next category is bastion routes, and this won't be worth too many points, but basically Piglin AI is much stupider on Bedrock Edition, and they're much less motivated by gold, and it needs to be on a very similar Y level as them for them to actually go for the gold. So because of this, a lot of bastion routes that have been highly developed by Java players like T-Wags just won't work on Bedrock, so a point for Java. And now for possibly the biggest disadvantage of playing on Bedrock Edition shows up. Playing on 1.16.100 plus. You see, the problem with a universal system is that everything needs to be updated to the same update to play with other players. So Bedrock will constantly automatically update platforms, making it really hard to stay on old platforms of the game without dedicating your computer to the cause. And because most people play on mobile and console, where it's basically impossible to, the majority of speedrunners have to play in the most current version, which in the case of 1.17 versus 1.16.1 is not optimized, mainly because piglin rates are so much worse. There's a 1 in 50 chance of getting ender pearls from a gold trade in 1.16.1 plus instead of a 1 in 26 chance, and you get more pearls in 1.16.1, so the average amount of pearls you get from a bridge bastion goes from about 30 to about 10, which is not good at all. There are countless more advantages to playing in 1.16.1 over the most current versions of Minecraft, some of which being piglin brutes and better piglin AI, but a lot of which go around the Bastion, which is an essential part of a speedrun. Because of this, another 5 points for Java Edition. Instead of Java losing 5-3, it is now winning 15-5. Next up is the blind travel category, and I've kind of merged the blaze fight and blind travel thing together just because they're pretty similar and pretty fast-paced parts of a speedrun. Basically, leaving the Bastion to when you enter the stronghold, I qualify as the blind travel phase. Bedrock and Java pretty much even out here because on Bedrock, PvP makes the blaze fight a lot easier as you can spam. But Java, once you finish the blaze fight, you can leave the nether a lot faster because instead of needing to go all the way back to your portal, you can probably just ender pearl to a blind travel spot, which is usually closer than your original enter portal. Because of these two factors, Java and Bedrock pretty much even out, so I'll give a tie for 2 points each. And now moving on to the final category of speedrun, the one cycle. Java and Bedrock have very different, yet very similar mechanics for a one cycle. Basically, haha, beds go burr and dragon dies, but it's more complicated than that. Java uses a more luck-based feature where you move far away from the dragon, let it perch, and then do a more simple, less complicated one cycle, including breaking beds just right below the dragon, right when its head crosses paths with it. Bedrock is complicated. I'm not gonna even bother to explain it because every time I do, it takes like 4 minutes. So basically, lava makes the dragon go closer to the ground, and then beds blow it up a different way just because the perches are very different on Bedrock and Java. Bedrock's dragon perch requires a lot more different materials than Java. Java just requires beds and obsidian and maybe an ender pearl, while Bedrock includes a full hotbar of stuff. However, Bedrock is a lot faster, as the dragon usually perches right when you enter the end, so there are advantages to both. Bedrock's is usually faster, but Java's is much more simpler to learn, but overall, I think Bedrock's going to get the 2-point advantage over Java for the one cycle. In the end, Java comes out on top of Bedrock by 17-9. Although Bedrock is better in general categories, Java, when you look at it in depth and technically, is about twice as good as Bedrock for random seed speedrunning. I'm not trying to cause a war or an argument, I'm just providing general statements and my overall opinion that Java is better for speedrunning than Bedrock. In the end, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to The Weekly Thing, Curryway, Ninja Brain, and all the speedrunners on Bedrock and Java that deserve the credit that is due to them. Enjoy speedrunning Minecraft, regardless of what platform you play on, and have a good day.